And we are back, and we just finished watching Mickey 17 from 2025. It is rated R with a runtime of 2 hours and 17 minutes. This comes to us from writer-director Bong Joon Ho from a book by Edward Ashton, actually called Mickey 7, but Bong Joon got a little creative with Mickey's character here.
Not enough death.
This is streaming on Max, or are we calling it HBO Max? Because I hear it's going back to HBO Max.
Still Max, but it will be HBO Max in the coming weeks or days because of the brilliant advertising and executives.
Decision making over there.
Yeah, they don't have enough money to waste, so apparently rebranding to something that they were formerly branded as is the way to go.
So this is a story that touches on a lot of themes. There's a lot of stuff going on in here, and I think it works brilliantly. Unfortunately, this didn't do big numbers at the box office, so it's considered a failure. I'm hoping that it gets new life at the streamers, and I hope that more eyes get on it, because from start to finish, it is a really powerful storytelling experience. Maybe not as complete as some of Bong Joon's other movies, but I think that this one is exceptional. We go into themes of identity, colonialism, corporate greed. There's political commentary here that it's kind of funny because art imitates life, as they say. So G and I actually went to see this at the movie theaters, and we quite enjoyed it, and we were hoping to do a family watch, but our youngest is not feeling well, so it's just going to be the three of us. I'm going to start with you since this is your first watch. What did you think of the film?
I enjoyed it. I definitely feel it was, in comparison to Bong Joon's other works, it's probably his weakest effort, but it was still entertaining. I liked Mickey. I liked all the characters. I didn't really love any of them, though. I didn't get too emotionally attached to any of them. And I think that's where this lost points for me. Just because in previous stuff, you really get to know and care about these characters, whereas with Mickey, you do get to know him and you get to know his plight and what led him to become a quote-unquote expendable, which is just the worst job ever. But overall, it's still not enough to make me really form an attachment to his character. And then there's the other characters, and I didn't really find myself growing attached to any of those characters either. There's Nasha, his love interest, who she's
previously in Blink Twice.
Yes, she was in Blink Twice. She's a strong character, but I never really get an attachment to her. And as far as like her main personality is, she's strong, she's assertive, but she is also just Mickey's love interest. There's, what was Stephen Ewan's character's name? Timo.
He was a jerk.
Timo is basically just a jerk. He is flat out a jerk from beginning to end. There's no character arc, nothing redeeming about him.
We all know a Timo, though.
Yeah. Kenneth Marshall, the leader of the colony, who is just a absolute buffoon caricature.
Brilliantly played by Mark Ruffalo.
It's obvious what he represents.
Yes.
He represents just the type of blowhard jackass that uses populism to sweep themselves into power and charm people into basically giving away their rights. His wife was kind of weird. Ilfa, played by Toni Collette. I guess she was supposed to be sort of like the whispering in his ear type character.
Yeah.
But usually with that type of character, she's the one with the brain and the manipulative abilities. And to me, they both felt equally stupid.
I agree.
She had some weird obsession with sauces as well, which never really developed. It's just she was obsessed with sauces.
Well, my theory about that was because the food was probably so bland. Sauce or dipping all those things in sauce probably made it taste better.
Maybe she just viewed sauces as some sort of status luxury item.
Possibly.
The poor,
she looked like that type of person.
Yeah, I don't think anybody else had access to sauces. It looked like they were just eating some sort of paste and almost like frosted mini wheats without the frosting. But
I'm sure if you dip that in sauce, it'll taste much better.
Yeah, maybe. But as far as like the story goes, it was entertaining. It was an interesting sci-fi tale. There's analogies to stuff in the real world that you could easily latch onto. Nothing in this film is subtle.
No.
It's very you hear, I'm hitting you over the head with this. The here, capitalism, out of control, bonk. Expendable workforce, bonk. I mean, that's the concept of the whole film, about the expendability of the workforce and how it's exploited by a capitalism run amok. So yeah, it's a good movie, but I think you'll enjoy it more if you just kind of shut your brain off and watch it. Don't compare it to his other stuff. But yeah, that's my summation.
Okay. JG, what'd you think of the film?
I like this film a lot. I'd probably say I love this film because this is my second time watching it and I still enjoyed it. And it's not like we watched it like forever ago. This just came out. So even after watching it fairly recently, upon second rewatch, I wasn't bored or anything. I was still entertained. I didn't fool around on my phone or anything.
Who was your favorite character?
Either Mickey or Nasha.
Mm-hmm. Why did you like Mickey?
Probably because he's the main character.
Did you have sympathy for Mickey as well? Or?
I mean, yeah, it'd be weird if you didn't have sympathy for him. His life is terrible.
His life really is
The
terrible.
only good thing in his life is Nasha.
Yeah. Why did you like Nasha?
Because she was cool and she was badass, I think.
Yeah. And she genuinely...
She loved Mickey so much. I like that aspect of the film. I thought it was very romantic. My favorite sequence is the one after... I don't want to give any spoilers away, so my favorite sequence is one where Mickey you get a couple of flashback scenes of their relationship, sort of.
Yeah, I like that part too. I think it does a good job of showing you instead of telling you about these people and what they mean to each other. I liked Mickey 17 a lot, and I liked Nasha. Although there were parts where I was like, yo, girl, stop being so crazy. She was incredibly jealous. I mean, she is an incredibly jealous woman. My goodness.
I didn't really care about that part, though.
No?
I didn't really feel like it was oh my God, stop right now. It's just sort of that's who she was.
Okay, fair enough.
You're saying she was an incredibly jealous woman, but would you say that was a little bit hypocritical? Because when it came to her being presented with two Mickeys, she didn't really take into account the Mickey's feelings. I mean, one of the Mickeys was just like, Mickey 18 was just an animal.
Yeah. He was on board with whatever.
Yeah, but Mickey 17 clearly was not down with this. And
sharing.
You'd figure, okay, well, I could see that this is bothering you.
Right. But I think her justification is he's mine. All of him. Like, she wasn't even going to share him because there's that sequence where Kai is like, well, why don't I keep this one and you keep the other one? And she's just like, She yells at her. Yeah, this is all mine. Mickey is mine.
Right, but in my mind, that sort of makes her viewing Mickey as more of a possession rather than a person who she has an intimate relationship with.
You know what? Possibly, but I honestly feel that we don't get Nasha's backstory, so we can't really infer anything. We get glimpses of Mickey's history as a child. Something very traumatic happens to him that stays with him. We see him prior to coming on this expedition to Niflheim, where he's got this relationship with Timo. So we don't really know too much about them, but we can infer that Mickey has sort of, to G's point, been life's punching bag throughout life. He hasn't caught a break. He hasn't been living his best life. He's sort of just existing. And I think that when he meets Nasha, all of that changes because she really sees him. She really sees him. She wants to be with him to the point where it's almost too much because she's a little extra in that relationship. Like, she doesn't even want to share him at lunchtime kind of thing. Like, she's very possessive of him, very possessive. So to your question, possibly, but I think that another aspect of it could be they're in space. I think they said it took them 4 years to get four and a half years to get to where they were going. And I think that when you're in that situation, everything feels very life or death, right? Because you don't know if you're going to get to where you're going. Once they get to where they're going, it takes 5 Mickeys to kind of sacrifice themselves in order to develop the vaccine that's going to allow people to breathe the air in this new planet of theirs. So I think that's another reason maybe why Nasha loves so much. She basically is fervent in her emotions, but also maybe she's loving like this could potentially be the last day because you don't know that you're going into an unknown, right? You're on this planet. You don't have any idea
I could see that, but my initial hypothesis here was she's being hypocritical because she is not really taking into account Mickey's feelings. I mean, just in that scene, I mean, you could justify that scene in a couple of different ways. Oh, it wasn't really Nasha in her right mind because they had apparently done a ton of drugs before he entered the room.
Right.
But still, it doesn't reflect well on her character in my mind, because
Okay, that's fair.
when you're in a relationship, it's not just about the physical. It's about, I care about what this person thinks and feels. And right now, I'm not registering that this person feels uncomfortable with this situation or doesn't like this situation. I'm just looking at the physical, carnal aspects of what is about to happen here. It's like a fantasy for her. And when you're thinking of fantasy, you're not really thinking of the emotional well-being of others in this fantasy. It's just all about you. You're the center of the story.
I also feel there's an immaturity about Nasha.
Okay, yeah, I would agree with that. But that would go hand in hand with the hypocritical way she's acting, because hypocrisy is perfectly in tune with being immature.
Sure.
You're not really taking into account. You're lacking in empathy. You're not really thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So she was high on oxy, whatever the hell that drug was.
Mm-hmm.
She was just naturally immature.
She's very possessive.
She was possessive. That's another sign of immaturity. So, yeah, in my mind, that scene didn't really help me or help endear her character to me.
All right, fair. But I think also the other things that she does sort of cancel out any kind of negative aspect for me. I agree with G, that sequence where you see her being extremely loving to Mickey in really dire situations. I think that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't doubt that she did love Mickey, but
in her own larger than life way.
But I would say there are some cracks in that storytelling that don't really help her character much in that respect.
All right, fair enough.
Also, you mentioned the whole thing about the air. I recall in the story there's a bit of storytelling where it wasn't just the air that they were running experiments on him with.
Right. Yeah. Poor Mickey.
It was just like, oh, he's going to die.
Right.
We'll just remake him. We could do whatever we want with this guy. I mean, that's what that whole dinner was.
Yeah.
To test stuff.
The thing where he's outside the ship.
Oh God, yeah.
That
yeah,
sequence.
please, take your glove off so we could see how your skin burns.
Right. Oh my God.
It's horrible, and he's just he goes along with it, I guess, because he feels this never-ending guilt for what happened with him and his mom when he was a child.
Right.
Although, which is interesting because
18 is like...
Yeah, 18 just does not give a shit.
Right. And he basically is like, that was a car defect. That had nothing to do with you.
It's weird how 18 would come to that conclusion, whereas the previous 17 Mickeys did not.
Right.
I guess that's evolution or...
I mean, there's that scene where they're talking about like the different Mickeys. Like one was too clingy, one was stupid and annoying to Nasha. So I think each Mickey was different in their own way.
They had little minor variations.
Right. Gee, what did you think of the Kenneth Marshall character?
He was dumb.
And yet,
he was the leader.
He was the leader. Oh,
It's not really that unrealistic, though.
No, it's not. It's not. It's funny, but at the same time, it's cringy because it's like, I could see this happening in real life.
Yeah, you can actually see it happening, like, in real time.
Yeah. What did you think of the Ilfa character, the wife?
I also thought that she was sort of the whispering in the ear type. But yeah, they didn't really do much with that. I was kind of disappointed because I kind of like that trope, maybe. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I like when this stupid buffoon has someone kind of like controlling him. But while she did say these things, it was sort of, it wasn't like she was completely in control, because it seemed like she was actually in love with him. Right. And I feel like the character or the one whispering in the ear isn't really in love with the person they're controlling.
Yeah, they're like a means to an end.
Exactly.
Right.
So I didn't really like that part. I wish that she hadn't been in love with him.
And also, she wasn't the only one whispering in his ear. There was,
There's
No.
that
there was the
bald guy,
bald guy,
too.
too.
Oh my gosh, that guy
But
too.
he was also not really.
But he was also like a sycophant, though, wasn't he? Because he
was like in love with him too.
Right.
Everybody was just licking Kenneth Marshall's ass.
But he was like a...
Katie, right?
I
The-
felt-
Oh my god, I hated that guy.
that guy was-
I felt he was more of a manipulative sycophant, the bald guy.
Oh, okay.
Because
Really?
Yeah, because he would go along with the plan, and then he would be like, "Oh, but it would be better if you were front and center, if you were the one to push the button to release the gas."
That is true.
He was the guy coming up with all the ideas to make him grow, to make his like legend grow, and Marshall was just like, "Yeah, I'll push the button. I'll be like a hero,
Right.
a legend," and
Yeah, that
he
is
was
true.
he was just all along with it.
So the bald guy was better at like manipulating him. Tony Collette was just kind of telling him what to say.
Yeah, the bald guy definitely had more. I felt he had more sort of like widespread plans because I believe he was supposed to be a representative of that church that they were part of.
Right.
He was always talking about, when I message the people back home, they'll be pleased. Whereas Tony Collette was just
She was
staying in
Marshall's
power
side.
and, we'll make sauces.
Yeah, that was her main motivation. So that guy, the bald guy, was more for the church, and Tony Collette was
Yeah.
for Marshall or Ilsa.
She's not a main character, but I'd like to ask you guys. I'm going to start with G. What did you think of the Dorothy character, the girl that worked, I guess, with the scientist group, who
I
was
liked
always
her.
very kind to Mickey?
She is in her own way, sort of. She was a little whatever. She was definitely the nicest to him, though, and she was the one who was most open to. I don't know if I'd say like new ideas. She was the most receptive to the fact that the creepers weren't hostile.
Bad, right? And she also helped Mickey where she
She
could.
did. So I liked her character.
What did you think of Dorothy?
Yeah, she wasn't super developed, but what little you got from her, you could tell there was a bit of sympathy there. Not enough sympathy for her to step in and say, oh my God, what we're doing is inhumane, but enough where it was like, okay, I'm on the inside. I'm going to do my part to try and make things better. As opposed to the main doctor was Arcady, who pretty much was just like, I'm going to do whatever Marshall wants me to do. And Mickey is just a piece of meat. It was like, oh, he's in pain? Okay, we got this new stuff we got to try. Let's inject him with that and see what happens. Yeah, so he was like science run amok in the service of the ends justify the means. He was that type of guy. Whereas Dorothy was, I work in a system where the ends justify the means, but I'm going to try and do what I can to make it a little bit less cruel. I wouldn't say she was without sin because she did go along with this stuff. But yeah, she was a bit more sympathetic. I mean, when it came down to it, both the characters weren't really super developed beyond their like, I guess, archetype.
I'm going to ask you first. You said before that they are not subtle in this film, and I completely agree. What did you think of the thematic exploration about labor exploitation and capitalism that's very in your face in this film throughout?
Oh, God, yeah, you're being force-fed it. It's very blatant. Mickey is a literal metaphor for disposable workforce. Just get out there, do what we want. It's I think I read somewhere he was like a metaphor for the gig economy. Just do it. We don't care. And we don't really, in a lot of cases, people just don't really appreciate it. That's why you see so many people complaining about, oh, I'm not going to deliver anything unless I see a tip, because it's, you're not making a ton of money doing these jobs. Right. And then on top of that, the person's not going to give you a tip. You're going to like lug 14 pallets of water up a flight of stairs for them, and then it's just like, whatever, dude, that's your job. Get your minimum wage. And Mickey is just, it's even worse because it's just sort of like, oh, there's something glowing down that tunnel. It's super hot. We're just going to throw you down there. We want you to tell us exactly what happens to you as you die. But please, when you're dying, make sure you tell us what you're feeling. It's super important. And he has no choice. He signed up for this. He has no choice. You're here because of this. I wonder what would have happened if he had just said no. Like after a couple of times, he was just like, nah, I ain't doing this anymore.
I don't think that was.
Would they have
option.
would they have executed him?
Possibly. I mean, Marshall is super pissed off when Jennifer dies in that cave.
Yeah, and he's basically
like, "You're the expendable one."
Yeah, he was very upset that it wasn't Mickey who died.
Right. Gee, in this film, Mickey is sort of a clone of himself, sort of not. The mechanism to create the new Mickeys is kind of different than it in other things we've seen. We saw this in the movie theater. We also saw, you and I saw Companion in the movie theater. So, not that Iris was a clone, but she's not an original. Or she is to an extent.
No, she's a robot. You see at the end of the movie, there's another model that looks just like her.
Right. So, in this thing, these Mickeys come out of this, like, machine.
It's like a 3D printer.
Like a 3D printer. Do you think something like that could happen in the future?
Maybe.
Would you want something like that to happen in the future?
Probably not.
Do you think this was another reason why Nasha chose Mickey? Because people die, but Mickey never will.
I mean, I don't know about that because would she have known about that? The first time they meet is in the cafeteria.
But I think everyone knew that he was the expendable.
I don't know. They never explain that. It's just sort of like she sees him and she's sort of like the chair next to her is empty and she's just like.
She mouths over, do you want to sit here?
But everybody's asking him, so what is it like to die?
But that's after.
That's after.
That was the day they met was like the first day on
yeah,
the ship.
because remember the guy was explaining about how you need to eat just what you're allowed to eat and you have to watch your calorie expenditure, so no sex. That's something that you say at the beginning of the mission.
Yeah. So,
I don't think anybody knew.
I think Mickey even says the first day on the ship.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, still, I mean, I feel like part of Nasha, well, I was under the impression that Nasha knew that he was the expendable. And I think that Nasha...
I mean, she does eventually, but I don't know if she knew it in that moment.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think that she just noticed him and they started talking.
Yeah, and it's not like a sort of thing that you're like, oh, I'm going to date him because I know that if he dies, he's going to just be regenerated in a cloning machine.
Yeah. And she certainly didn't like his job. Like in the scene we were talking about, my favorite part of the movie. She's yelling at those people and she's looking at him through the glass and she does not look happy. She's not relieved like, oh, he'll just come out after this.
Right.
She's like disturbed.
Do you think that seeing the Mickeys die, or in those cases, because she may not be present at all the deaths, but in, what was it, 12 through 16?
The ones in the lab, yeah.
The ones in the lab. So she was there for that particular Mickey's end of life. Do you think that hurt her or that did something to her?
Yes, absolutely.
Same question.
I mean, yeah, clearly, especially by the end when she's just she actually goes in the chamber with him, obviously wearing a suit to protect herself, but she's in there with him. She wouldn't do that if it wasn't something that she was compelled to do because she absolutely loved this guy.
Yeah, I think in the chamber she's telling him like, oh, it's gonna be okay. She's holding him in the scene.
It felt very like Madonna Jesus kind of.
That pose that they're in, sort of, yeah.
There was a hint of that. I mean, he basically says that those Mickeys were sacrificed and this was his big contribution to mankind, much like in the Christ-like story where he dies for everybody's sins.
Yeah, you could definitely read that there.
I want to come to you. Again, this movie is not subtle. What did you think of the political satire in this film?
As we said, it's extremely obvious. They're talking about the danger of people who exploit populism. That sort of character who's charismatic and could rile people up, not for any sort of actual benefit or because they have a plan, just because it's, I hate what you hate. We're going to do this. I mean, he was actually ejected from his political positions on Earth, and that's why he was the leader of this thing because he got aligned with this crazy church or whatever. And they funded this mission to Niflheim to create a pure colony. I mean, he never outright says it's only for white people. He does use the word like white and pure.
He calls the planet on this pure white planet.
Yeah, on this pure white planet, which is a play on words because it's like, well, it's a snowbound planet. So, yeah.
Yeah, however.
But you could see it's basically just sort of a stand-in for what the people, the racist, populist sort of candidates are shouting and screaming about. They're never actually going to say it, but it's implied.
Right.
You could read into it. It's sort of like, I really wasn't saluting like a Nazi. That was a Roman salute. Yeah, okay, right. And then the convention afterwards where like several other people did it. Just they're being assholes. They're being assholes. They want to be assholes. They want to they think they're being, oh, look how subtle I am.
Clever, yeah.
I'm getting this in there. No, you're not really fooling anybody. But they don't care. They don't care because guess what? I have all these people convinced, and not only that, but it's making those other people mad, which feeds into what I want anyway.
Right.
Because half of a populist movement is not only inciting people and making them angry, it's making the other half angry too, which makes your half love you even more because it's like, look how he's owning those fools. Look what he's doing.
Libs.
Yeah, exactly. Look how he's bebopping and scatting all over them, and they're losing it, and they love it.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was not subtle in that respect. No. This film is very in
loud
your
and
face.
clear.
You're getting hit over the head with a hammer, which I wonder maybe is why it didn't do as well as people had expected it to.
That was going
Because
to be my follow-up question.
because it was sort of like a lot of the people that they're all on board with this sort of thing.
Right.
They don't want a light shown on it. They don't like that. They think it's, oh, you're making a fool of me. You're making me feel stupid. I don't want to feel stupid. And I think that's another reason why this has become such a threat is because the worst thing you could possibly do is kind of stoke that fire by feeding into what the charismatic guy is saying. The populist leader is saying, they all think you're stupid. You're a moron. And then you make a film where it's sort of like the message is so like, eat it. Look how stupid this is. And it's sort of like, you're calling me stupid now.
Right.
And so I'm not going to watch this. It is important to shine a light on sort of these things, but I think that's why I enjoyed his other stuff better because he weaves it in. He weaves it in so much better, and you're not really, it's not being forced down your throat.
But to that point, I think some people, especially creatives who feel things a little bit more, are maybe thinking that we're in dire times. So you have to take the gloves off and really speak plainly to people. True.
I mean, this film works in that respect. Because if you're talking to those people, you're talking to those people.
Those people aren't watching this film, though.
I mean, some of them did, but not enough because you also have to consider the mainstream audience.
Right.
And in the business of film, the mainstream audience is what like. If you want a big blockbuster movie, if you want to make up that $180 million budget, you're going to have to appeal to everybody. If you want to get your message in there, fine, get your message in there. But if you really want to make that money back, you're going to have to sugarcoat it. You're going to have to make it less blatant. Otherwise, make an independent film, make a foreign film, make a film where the budget's not $180 million. This film made a lot of money.
Yeah.
But it's considered a box office disappointment because after marketing, it was like, okay, we took an $80 million loss on this film now. If this was like a Merchant Ivory movie, they'd be laughing all the way to the bank right now.
Right. Because
those
dudes were stingy.
They were stingy.
Budget. And they always made it back.
Yeah. It's funny. You're trying to like, the business of film kind of precludes making a film that almost teaches a message or tries to shine a light on things, or at least not as blatantly as this one did. This one, it's kind of cartoonish almost. Kenneth Marshall. He is a cartoon. Mark Ruffalo plays him
very over the top.
I mean, he's ridiculous.
Yeah.
He is a ridiculous character. He's got those crazy teeth. In the beginning, his hair is all weird looking. His skin is weird looking. We all know what those are references to.
Sure. And it's interesting because he goes from civilian clothes to military uniform.
Oh, yeah, he becomes the strong man. At the
Right.
end, he wants to be the strong man. He's like, I'm going to be out there. I'm going to be the one pushing the button that releases the gas.
Yeah.
The gas. Who did we gas? Yeah.
Yeah.
So nothing is subtle. It's very in your face.
Yeah. Let's talk about the environmental exploitation of Niflheim. Niflheim, sorry.
Niflheim? I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, it's like a Norse mythology.
What did we think about these colonizers coming to this planet and basically taking over like it was theirs without any care to the indigenous species that's already there?
It happened all the time here in the past.
Sure. Like, what did you think of those characters as they're walking on the planet's surface? Yeah.
Nikki, the random dude, Kai, and her friend Jennifer.
Yeah.
What I think of them?
Yeah.
I mean, not much.
Mm-hmm.
It was just sort of, they were sent out there for exploration or charting the uncharted territory.
And then they go into this cave and they come across, I guess we'll call them the creepers.
Right.
And they start shooting at them because they don't understand who these things are. They don't know. They're coming in fear.
Yeah.
Do you think there would have been a better course of action there?
I mean, the better course of action would have been if they hadn't shot at them. If they hadn't shot at them, then one of their party members wouldn't have died. But I understand that they freaked out because they've lived on Earth their entire lives until like a couple years ago. So.
And they never probably came across a species that looked like those things.
Exactly. When the girl fell into the hole, the thing did jump at her. So how else are you going to interpret that? But, oh, my God, this weird thing that I've never seen before is jumping on me. It's going to kill me.
Right. It's aggression.
They have no idea what any of these things are. So I understand why they acted the way they did. But, yeah, it wasn't the best course of action.
What did you think of the scene where Ilfa yanks on the baby's tail and cuts it?
I hate that scene. There's not really much to think about it. I hate that scene really bad.
Why did you think that would be a good sauce?
I don't know. And she liked it, too, because she tasted it, and then that was her idea, sending the Mickeys out there to get all the tails.
And making it a contest. Whoever brings back 100 tails gets to live. Yeah.
She was a weirdo. Toni Collette's a really good actress.
She is a good actress. You love to hate her.
She's really good at that sort of stuff. Her facial expressions are so good.
Yeah. She looks like she's been pulled back, and her fake tan. And
well, both her and Ruffalo had that sort of like greasy shine to them.
Yeah, they were a little... They really wanted to look like young and vibrant or whatever.
Yeah. It was funny because I was half expecting Tilda Swinton to pop out.
You know, that's surprising. Usually she's in all of those, isn't she?
Movies, yeah.
She was in Snowpiercer
Snowpiercer
and Okja.
But Tony's a great
Tony's
villain.
fantastic too, yeah.
And she's one of those actresses, to G's point, she's just phenomenal. I mean, she can play good characters. She can play reprehensible characters. Here, she's not a likable character.
In the slightest.
In the slightest.
She's really good at it.
But she's very good at it. Yeah. And here, too, I mean, but she's cruel, right? Because
she's very cruel here. I mean, because she's in a position of power.
Right. And who's going to go against that, right? She's married to Marshall, so.
Yeah, she's on top.
Right. Anything we want to add before we wrap it up and give out numbers?
Nope.
G.
I don't think so.
No.
I just really like the film. I think it's good, even if it's super on the nose. I like when films are on the nose because I'm not good at picking up subtleties.
And I think, I agree with you. I think there's a time and a place. I think sometimes I like subtleties, sometimes I don't. I think for this particular film, I think you had to go there because of the themes being explored here. You're talking about capitalism, colonialism, worker exploitation of natural resources and land. These are some pretty heady topics, and I'm sure they've been done subtly in other media, but I think for this particular story, I think they needed to be in your face. And it's unfortunate that this film that was $118 budget only made $132. So it made its money, a little bit over, but not enough, because usually it's double the budget in order to be considered a box office success. I'm hoping that streaming allows this film to pick up some more numbers. I hope that other people go and watch this. This is absolutely worth your time. Bong Joon does it again. He is a master storyteller, and he takes this film and he wraps it up in some pretty outrageous clothing and just serves you this platter of satire, but also food for thought. I mean, there's a lot of themes in this film, and you can look at it as just a film, but if you really delve into the topics, I think that there is a lot to digest and really think about, and maybe even start conversations. 1 to 10, what are you going to give this film?
Maybe an 8.
What do you say?
I would give it a 7.
7. I think I'm going to give it an 8.5. I really liked it. To your point, maybe not as strong as some of the other Bong Joon films, but I think that this one is really clever, really on the nose, and just, really well done. All the performances. Rob Pattinson is so great. I don't know what that accent was supposed to be. It was
I
like,
think he's just supposed to be like straight guy. He almost sounded like a 1940s, 50s Brooklyn guy.
hi. Yeah, I was thinking that. I was like,
I'm from the street.
yeah.
I'm a sad sack from the street. And
Yeah.
I'm getting led around my nose by my friend who got me
Was a jerk.
in a bad way with a loan shark.
Timo had like a horseshoe up his ass, right? That guy got out of so much stuff.
There's always people like that.
Oh, it's annoying. It's annoying. You always want to be around for somebody's comeuppance, but he's one of those guys that the angel of death always passes his door. All right. Again, this is streaming on Max or HBO Max in a couple of weeks. This is from 2025 from Bong Joon Ho. It is Mickey 17. Check it out. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Yes, don't forget. Like we always forget.
Like we always forget. And with that, we will bid you all a
Good night.
Good night.
good night.